today we have Nehemiah. No, okay, I failed that. Please announce yourself. I failed hard. He is from New Jersey, and now he lives in Israel. At least that one is correct. How are you?
Yeah.
Please announce it to yourself so I can repeat your name.
Yeah, my name's Nehemiah.
Nehemiah. Okay.
Nehemiah, yeah.
Nehemiah. Yeah, we'll talk about side projects. You will discover in this video how to manage to have a full-time job and a side project. This is very interesting to me. Also about React and other things. So let's get started. Yeah, from where do you want to start your journey in becoming a developer? Are you a developer now? Yeah.
Well, yes and no, sort of.
Okay.
I guess I'll get into it, and here's my story. So I was studying communications and information science in university. So nothing really programming related. And during my time in university, I had a few different student jobs. And during one of my student jobs, I was actually, before I really knew what Twitter was, I was doing like some marketing, and I needed to start like following different people's accounts and trying to like interact with them on the company's Twitter account. They were trying to target small businesses. And I found it was very tedious to like curate these lists. So I was wondering if there's some way to do it like more programmatically, even though I didn't even know that word at the time, but I knew I wanted it to like some sort of automation for this tedious task. So I asked a friend of mine who has been a developer for quite a few years if there was any way I could do this. And he started talking about like Twitter API and all these other things. I'm like, okay, is this something I can do without knowing how to code? And he's like, no, you'll need to know at least a little bit of code. So I sort of put it to the side. And like a week or so later, I was still interested in doing it. And I asked a friend, like, okay, so where can I start learning to code? And someone had suggested Python and to learn Python on Code Academy. So that was my first real programming experience, was going to Code Academy. I started doing the modules and I was like really hooked on doing it. And I was making like tiny applications in Python, like playing like paper, scissors, rock or horse or whatever it was. Like not even object-oriented Python, just basic functional programming. But still, I was really intrigued and I wanted to do more of it. And so I found Free Code Camp, a suggestion from a friend. And that's really where it started taking off. I was still in university at the time, and I was also working this other job, but I wasn't even focused on like marketing or anything. I was just like going in like full speed ahead. I had no plans to even become a developer at the time. I was just like really interested in the projects they had and the interactive coding, and I guess getting that like check when you finish a section, sort of like gaming, leveling up each time. And I was becoming like way more focused on that than my actual studies. And I guess just like knowing other people that were developers and like speaking to them, asking them like, okay, how can like I actually get a job in this? Like, I didn't study computer science. Can I shift this thing that is currently a hobby into a career? Because my thought was, I'm spending this time like curating lists of people to follow on Twitter. And I'm just like, I'm sitting behind a computer all day anyway, right? And like, I viewed sort of most jobs, like that's the direction most jobs are going in, right? Like you're going to be sitting behind a computer for most jobs. So can I make a bit more money while doing that, and do something a bit more interesting, create something. So I started looking into coding bootcamps as I was finishing my last year in university. And basically I signed up for one, not knowing so much. I looked into a few ones, but I was just so interested programming and wanted a better, I guess, framework to learn in, something more structured. And also part of the bootcamp that I signed up for was for the 2 months at the end, they set you up with an internship. And I viewed that as like, okay, that's like, I could really get my foot in the door and get real industry experience. So that was sort of the selling point for me. And from there, did the bootcamp. We learned HTML, CSS, JavaScript, which I had already done a lot of in Free Code Camp. And then we did Python, which I had done a little bit of, but then we started getting into like object-oriented programming for Python, and Django, which I don't know if you've used Django, but for someone coming in with like not so much experience, it's a bit daunting, especially when you're trying to cover in a short period of time. So even though I was coming in and I felt like, oh, I knew all this stuff already, it was really like, it's like, okay, there's like a whole another side that I didn't do. Like I hadn't done any back end. So this was like really came as a shock to me. But yeah, so from there, I had a 2-month internship. And at the end of the internship that I had, they had offered me a position, which I actually turned down. The reason being that it was a very, very small company. It was just the CTO and me. And I felt I wasn't getting the proper guidance that I needed. So even though I could have stayed there for like a year, maybe, even though I wasn't crazy about the company, just to get the experience, I felt at my next job, I would come and they would expect my knowledge level to be much higher than I felt it would be if I stayed without any sort of mentoring. So I looked elsewhere, and I must say, at least in Israel, entry-level positions are much harder to come by. I think just from comparing to the US, from what I've seen, like looking on LinkedIn, I think I've seen a lot more entry-level jobs in the US. So I ended up taking a QA position at a company. And I told them up front that I want to do development, but like I'm willing to sort of do QA and learn a bit more about working on a dev team and real environment. And it was actually a good learning experience because I got to know the code base like slightly, you know, much like lighter landing. It allowed me to brush up on SQL and sort of like think of different edge cases, you know, and then you come in to development, which happened full-time after a year. They started giving me like projects, I think half a year in, the CTO of the company started like giving me some projects to work on the side, not on a dev team, but like some side projects. Yeah, and then eventually I moved into a development position, and I was there for a year as a developer. So I was 2 years in total at the company, and then Corona hit, and the company had to lay off like 50% of the dev team. We were like 30 developers, and they laid off like 50%. Then I was looking elsewhere.
Yeah. And finally, you started to work remotely, right?
Yeah, so we were working remote. I think when Corona hit, it was like 2 months of working remote before they like laid off a lot of people, myself included. And I was looking around, and this position to be a tech mentor, like at the boot camp that I had attended, sort of like landed in my lap around the same time. So that's actually where I am currently, and I've been since the outbreak. Yeah, so it's been, I really like, I guess, educating people in coding, which is something that even when I barely knew anything, you know, I always like talking about programming. So, you know, just like we are now. So I was always interested in getting other people involved in something that I felt pretty passionate about. So it aligns nicely with that.
Yeah, Well, this is very good. So you have tried already both Python and JavaScript. I'm not asking you which one do you prefer, but yeah. And also, I didn't want to interrupt you, but we had here Quincy Larson. So do you know
Yeah.
him? Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
creator of Bootcamp. Also, from that point, this kind of interviews was let's say sponsored by Camp. I put like in the description something about Camp. Check that,
Yeah.
please. Yes, and since you are there, also like this video. Thank you. Yes. So what about React? Because you said me that you wanted to talk about React, but maybe we are not there yet, or maybe I missed that
No,
part.
we can.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not even sure
Sorry.
what to say specifically about React, though.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
big,
Just, yeah.
big
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah. If you have you started learning that, how? Because I think that many of the people that are watching this video, they also want to know how did you start. Maybe you already said, for example, Bootcamp. For example, I started without bootcamps. So, for example, for me, something new. For example, I don't know that experience, but there are some people that like that. So, for example, yeah, now I have a question. Do you prefer to learn by bootcamp or in other ways? So maybe it depends on the quality of the bootcamp. But in your case, how has it been?
No, it's a good question. I think everything that you learn at a bootcamp, the same could be true for university as well, right? Like, why do people go to formalized sort of education? Although this is a bit less formal, a bootcamp, but they want sort of the certification or the network that it provides and the framework that you get for learning. So it depends what type of learner you are. I sort of did view myself as someone that was like really a self-learner, but I thought that the networking opportunities that they give are very good. And I know, at least in the States, lots of the boot camps give you like job guarantees, and they really help their alumni find jobs. So that's very valuable. And I think people that are going in without any sort of like formal education, I know people do it, and I'm very impressed with the people that do. I just think it's a difficult journey. Obviously, there are no guarantees with bootcamp, but I did feel that just having that network it gave me more reassurance, right? Because I could start, going on my own and keep doing projects and, but if no one finds me, or like if I can't find anyone else and get my foot into the door, that's not going to help. So it's a gamble either way, right? Because boot camps, as we know, are like pretty expensive. But on the other hand, so is your time. So I guess it was weighing that.
Yeah, I think that the network is really, really important. For example, I have a computer science degree, and it was not that helpful to find a job. But for example, the job that I'm doing now, this job at the European Space Agency, is because one professor of university sent a mail to me and they said to me, "Do you want to make an interview for the European Space Agency?" I thought that he was actually joking. Maybe it was like a joke. And also when I did the interview, I thought, because I would never applied to that. So, but that contact network helped me to find my job. So maybe also in the bootcamp, maybe you can also know some interesting people. You connect to some people, because sometimes we have this problem that maybe we stay a little bit isolated. So maybe the network is really, really valuable for us for the kind of job that we are doing. Yeah, to have someone also, to share our problems also. Also. So and also if you want, we can talk about Twitter if you want later, because I think that could be also be useful. Of course, we will talk about Twitter. Of course,
can't not talk about Twitter.
Of course, we will, but in the end, and please follow him on Twitter now. So so this bootcamp experience. What do you think about that? Has it been useful or not in your case?
Yeah, I mean, definitely my current job, that it really helped me get this job because, you know, I was already familiar with the bootcamp itself. But beyond that, it's a bit difficult to say, right? Because it did allow me to get that internship that I wouldn't have got otherwise. But since I started out, really, my first tech job was in QA. It's hard to say if the boot camp helped me land that job specifically. Like maybe that's something, for example, someone's looking to break into the industry and they've started learning some stuff on the side, but they're not able to get a developer position. If they can land a QA position, you know, and then move in within the company. So, you know, now you're already getting a salary and you're getting more industry experience. I personally recommend that to a lot of people, especially if you're already at a company. I always suggest to people, like, see if you can leverage your current company and turn that into like a position. Like, ask them, you know, reach out to the developers at your company and, you know, see a little bit about what they do, and see if there's any way that you can get involved. You know, in big companies, it's probably less likely, but in smaller companies, I feel like you'd be surprised.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, how old are you? Because I don't know your age.
How old do I look?
Can I ask you? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fill this one. I don't know. 20, 24.
Really? Okay. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
I just turned 29.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So cute. Yeah. But before being a developer, what was you doing? What were you doing?
I was a student. So I
Student.
basically went straight from student, and I said I had some like part-time jobs while I was a student doing like marketing, but like social media marketing mostly, like LinkedIn, Twitter, stuff like that. I wasn't super involved in Twitter, you know, and also it's funny because coming at it from
It's so bad. Why? You could have been the Twitter master. I was about to ask you something now.
Yeah, because you know, when you're doing it for a company or a brand, the way that they use it is sort of just like, you know, they're just like publishing blog articles, for example, and you know, looking back at it now, just from being on Twitter all this time, I can be like, wow, this was like, I did it horribly, you know, like when you're trying to market something, it's a totally different.
I'm not even a market expert, so now I thought about this maybe today that I was not really that social media person at all. So I didn't even open my Twitter account before. We'll talk about this later. I wanted to ask you about the reason why I invited you. So please tell me how to manage my time with a full-time job, and also by making also YouTube videos to start some side project. Please, I want to listen to that now.
Well, it seems like the YouTube videos you're already doing a pretty good job. It's funny, like
that is a side project. Let's say that, a very big side.
I see people like you and Danny on Twitter, and you guys are always and like Catlin. I feel like I said it. Catlin. Caitlin's a girl's name. So you guys are always like coming up with these side projects, and I see you guys like doing stuff, and I always feel like I'm like so behind in side projects, but I do some volunteering for a nonprofit. I essentially created like a full stack application for them, and you know, there's ongoing features that I add, and you know, just running maintenance when the site crashes or there's other bugs. But it's not something that I'll necessarily do daily, right? And then if I find that there's sort of a gap of time, like I definitely, try to take time to spend with my family and relax. But I think it's very important, just because, I don't have so many years of experience. I think even if I did, it's very important for developers to be like learning new things. And when you're working at a job, you're going to be working on whatever the company needs you to be working on, which might not allow you to be, learning whatever it is, like material UI, for example. Like
you need to be lucky. You need to be lucky to work exactly what you want.
Yeah, but like that's hardly the case. Even when I moved into development, there were still times where, the developers were doing QA just because we were short-handed, and stuff needs to get out the door, right? Like you need to push things to production, needs to get tested. So if you're short in that area, the developers step in and do that. Or like, we were also doing automation. And even if that's not your most favorite thing to do, at the end of the day, you're working for a company, and you have to meet the business needs there. So, it's important then to take time to actually be growing in the areas that you're looking to grow in, and just exploring things that interest you that you might have not had the chance to do otherwise. Like I personally, I'm not super interested in mobile development, but if I was branching out and like learning React Native or Flutter, that's not something I'll ever get the opportunity to do, at least on my current job or even my previous job. So that's why side projects, I think, are super important to find time for, even if it's just like 30 minutes, half an hour a day, which is the same thing I recommend to people starting to learn to code, like to create a habit of doing it. So I think it's sort of the same as like what you're doing now with these videos, right? Like every day. So once you make it a habit, it's something that you just know you're going to get home. You're going to be tired from your day, but you're going to do it, and you're going to schedule in the time to do it because you've made this commitment.
For example, in the beginning, it was very hard. Now I can say this, that I'm about to hit the half of this challenge. But in the beginning, it was hard because sometimes in the beginning, you need also to think about the process. I need to do this, and this. I also needed to write down, because otherwise I could lose some passages, the editing part, the thumbnail, the promo, other things, because it's not just about recording. And of course, thank you so much for also helping me to at least create the video, because otherwise it would be impossible. But now I know what to do. So sometimes during the editing, no, but for example, sometimes when I create the video on YouTube, I can also stay on Twitter, for example, now, because now my brain is used to do that. So I can do that while I'm doing another thing. For example, in the beginning, it was not possible. I had to be super focused on that. Otherwise, I would lose something. So this is an habit. It's like reading. It's like doing exercise. It's always about turning this into a habit. If you are interested into becoming better and doing that, So thank you. Do you have any? I don't know. Maybe one specific tip, maybe, or advice. Let's say that we have here some developers that maybe they don't have time. Let's say that they say they don't have time to start their side project, but they would like to do that. Maybe they are full employed, which is not the worst case. But sometimes it's harder to start a side project if you are working full time, for example. So this could be good to be employed if you need to pay bills, if you like that. But we should never forget to keep learning as developers. It's not an option for us. For some other jobs, maybe that could be an option. For us, it's not. You can't stop learning. You need to keep running. every day. So yeah, what can we say to them?
Yeah, listen, you have to also know your own limits, right? If you're feeling, like you said, there's so much to learn, and it's sort of a job where like you need to be learning, otherwise you're sort of falling behind, and be putting yourself in a position where you're able to get those learning experiences. So, you know, you sort of just have to view it as like, yes, I have my job where I'm going to be learning, but like in order to get all that other learning experience you need, you just need to schedule time. So like if it helps you to view it as like part of your job, that's great. But I think everyone has time. Like you have to have some time in your day, right? So you might view that you don't have time, but there is some time, right? Like there was a period of time where like it wasn't so urgent for me to be doing like stuff for this nonprofit. So I just felt that I didn't have time to, work on it. And then I don't exactly recall what changed, but I started doing a little bit of it, like picking it back up again. And, it was late. It was a long day. I got home maybe like 8 p.m., right? But I knew that was something that I needed to do, right? Like I felt that there was a sense of urgency to do it. I think that's sort of the key. When you feel that there's a sense of urgency to do whatever it is, and then sort of changing your mindset from being like, I don't have time to do this, to like, I'm making time to do this.
Yeah, I know, and of course, life is just made of periods of time. Of course, there could be some periods when you really don't have time. Maybe they have some real urgency. Some people they need your help. That's totally fine. Yeah, it's more, as you say, it's more about the mindset. So you should not be, in my opinion, be just relaxed to just have that job and that's all. So if you have time, but even 5 minutes, 10 minutes. For example, for me, when I was coming home, I had like a 1 hour and a half of commitment. I was thinking about what can I learn, or maybe I listen to some audio books, something that, and then when I came back home, I started to do that. Yeah. For example, everybody has their routines, but I think you should try, yeah, with everything you can, because I had here people with 3 children, 5 children, and they still have time to do something. So if they can do that, you can also, yeah, I think that you can also do that. Yeah, of course. Yeah, or at least have the idea that you should that. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, even with that, like it's a matter of what you want to prioritize. I'm not saying everyone needs to pick up a side project. Like, by all means, if you want your work to be your work, and when you're home to be home and just like sit on the couch and relax, or spend time with your family, or whatever it is that you want to prioritize, that's fine. You just need to decide what you want to make a priority. And if you want to make side projects a priority, then you make it a priority.
Yeah, it's like deciding to never exercise or to not eat healthy for 3 years, and then you get the consequences. Of course, that's it. That's it. It's simply as that. It's simply as that. Yeah, simply as that. Yeah. Sorry for making this these analogies, but that's it. Because, and of course. And as you say, the side project could also be something that we are really interested into. That it doesn't have to be something really, I don't know, super useful that you get money from for that, because that could be also be something that you are just interested into. That as you say, the mobile application, a new language, something totally different from your job. I think that it can also help. To relax your mind, maybe focus on what you really need, because when we do what we really need, we are happy inside. Let's say that. That's it.
I would recommend, if you're just like looking for a side project, finding something that even would slightly improve your life, something that for example, I'll tell you a small side project that's basically done. I'm just fixing up the UI, but a recipe app, which I'm sure there's plenty of them, but what constraints do you have when you do another recipe app is that, let's say the data is not really yours, right? Like you've signed up for an account maybe, but data is totally on their database, right? And let's say now they decide that the application is not going to be free anymore, or maybe from the beginning it wasn't free, or, and if it is free, you're probably getting ads, right? So there's all these trade-offs to using someone else's, and it's not an overly complex, application, a recipe application. But if that's something that, for example, for you is useful, right? Like, so my wife and I, we have these recipe books, even though we only use maybe like 10 recipes out of like the 300 pages or whatever it is, we always go back to the same one. So just having like one place to sort of store these things, that was answering an immediate issue we had. I knew it was something I can do. And like, once I had the first iteration, I'm like, okay, let me, now that I see that there's some use, let me start incorporating other things. So Material UI, for example, was something that I had wanted to learn, but I didn't really have any immediate need for. And at work, there was no need for it. So being able to now take it and incorporate it into the side project gave me like that extra learning experience. And of course, you're always brushing up on your existing skills, but it allows you to incorporate sort of those new things you might have not done otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's more about finding the time. We had here Eddie Rude, the GitHub star I had here, and he makes this analogy to brush your teeth. So maybe you should do that every day. You can't stop doing that. You can do not that maybe one day, but that's it. So it's a matter of habit that developers should have. We have some time maybe to talk about, for example, social. But in your case, I think you can also say, for example, your experience that you had as in the past and for now. For example, the differences, as you said, maybe you were employed there.
Yeah.
And now, what are you doing? What are you using so we can follow you?
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah.
So before, when I was working, I had to create like a social media plan, but the whole social media plan was stuff that I found from other like marketers and telling you how to market your brand. And they're saying like, okay, you should do this number of tweets. You should be retweeting this amount of other things, and like whatever else it was. So basically the only thing that I was tweeting out was like links to articles that I thought these businesses would find useful. Now, after being on Twitter a while and like, talking to people, it's like, no, you don't want to post links. As in post links when you need to, but if you're just posting links, and you can probably look at some people's accounts.
Yeah.
They're not going to do well. Even big accounts.
I still remember that when I downloaded Twitter, I saw these accounts with like maybe 10,000 or maybe 20,000 of followers. Maybe they were following like 10,000 or 20,000 of people, posting links all day long. And for me, they were so good accounts. Maybe they got like 5 likes every time. I was not that expert in the beginning. But that's it. There are even some people on Twitter and on socials. So maybe it depends on what you want to do. So what's your experience now with Twitter? More personal.
Yeah. So now that I've started using it as a person and not like trying to use it as
a human being, yeah.
And that's really it. Is that I think. Listen, I'm no Twitter expert, but people want to interact with other people, right? And like, it's really presented me with opportunities with just like being a person on Twitter and sharing things that I'm doing or sharing things I find interesting or funny or whatever it is, and taking the time to interact with people and making those connections is really where I think Twitter can be very valuable. And I think, obviously we both know how valuable Twitter can be, but lots of people don't realize how valuable it is. And I'm surprised now that I've been using it, I'm surprised not everyone is using it, especially developers. Like there's just so much to learn and so many people to like gain from. And that's a shame to not utilize. There's still like so much room, and most people they're not sharing anything on Twitter. So if you want to like stand out on Twitter, I don't know what's considered successful these days on Twitter, but I wasn't really using it. I had basically a dead account on Twitter from when I was like looking into using it for like marketing. And then I sort of revived it. Now I have like 10,000 followers, which is hugely a credit to just the connections that I've made, like people that I've interacted with, and then they interact back with me, and it's like very organic. So just those likes and retweets from people like you and Danny and other big accounts. I don't need to like list all of them.
Yeah, being close to Danny for me is a compliment. So when you say you and Danny, for me is a compliment. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. But no, you guys, I think were some of the first like bigger accounts that I like started interacting with and started interacting back with me. And yeah, I guess that's sort of the trick there, is just being a human and tweeting things you find interesting. And those people, if they also find it interesting, will start interacting with you. And
it's simple. But when have you started to use Twitter, let's say in a proper way? When you say that you started, because I had a dead account too. I think that if I go back in time, in December 2019, I got like, I don't know, maybe one tweet, something like that in December. And so I'm talking about one year ago, not 10 years.
Yeah.
So when have you started to?
So I sort of revived it back in May, I think.
May. I started in February, so you're doing good. You are doing pretty good. Yeah.
It's all relative, I guess. Yeah. No. I'm very thankful for everyone that's followed me for whatever reason.
Yeah, you should start getting some high messages now, and some.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When you start getting those, you're famous.
Lots of people just DMing me hi. It's like, okay. Yeah. I don't know what you want.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. Yeah. How many do you have now? 10,000.
A bit over 10,000. Like just recently.
Okay.
At
20,000, people will start pretending that you know everything. So get ready for that. Get ready. Get ready for that.
Oh, I have this question about Java or whatever it is. It's like, sorry, I don't know why you thought I know Java.
This is also why I started making live streams. So people can come and maybe live, they can ask these kind of questions, because so I can just answer one time instead of 50 times per day, because it has been
like you're still going to get those
questions. Because it has been like 6 months. Maybe I could get better results with live. I dedicate some time to them, and that's it. So this is what how I would like to solve this problem, because I understand that some people sometimes they feel a little bit lost, of course. So when I have time, I answer to all of them, trust me. But sometimes it's hard.
You're much nicer than I. You respond to people that just write hi?
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about serious questions like I have this
Okay.
problem. Yeah, a good approach could be I follow you, I like your tweets. Yeah, and say something honestly that you or at least follow that person. If you
Yeah.
send a message, yeah, it could. You have higher chances to get an answer. Yeah.
Yeah. As a rule, like I think in the beginning I did, and then I started realizing that like you don't know what you're going to get when someone just messaged you hi. So you're better off to wait for people that are actually telling you why they're messaging you.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you
Like
for
I don't want to
coming.
get into a whole conversation with someone that I don't even know what they want from me.
Yeah. If you talk about, for example, I don't know, I like your videos. I like your you at least you seem like you don't look like a bot. You seem like a human being looking for help. We don't want to. I'm not saying that we don't want to help, but maybe you should ask it properly.
Okay.
It was you that made that challenge, that crazy challenge.
Yeah.
It was you. It was you. I never remember that. That I promised that I would have retweeted your first.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Am I a person of word? Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that can be your next challenge.
I'm looking forward. Make a videos about that. Make a videos and start a YouTube fitness channel. Yeah. It was one of my ideas in the past.
Oh yeah.
Because I trained them way more in the past. Yeah, now I'm old. Yeah, but it was one of the ideas. Yeah, and I had half achieved that because I started making videos with running, so it was one of my ideas. But yeah, that's it. So thank you for being here. So we can follow you on Twitter. That's it.
On Twitter, yeah. Yeah, I'm not very active on LinkedIn. I have one, but
you just accepted the invitation.
I'll accept it from like people I know, like people I'm closer with on Twitter. But there's too many like random, like I guess it doesn't hurt, but I don't know. I view LinkedIn still a bit like more professional. So
yeah, I don't know. Everybody uses this as they want. So thank you for being here. Yeah. I don't know. I think we will be close to Christmas when I post this video. So
okay.
Yeah.
So happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Yeah.
Or Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas is the right one.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.